And feel free to say hi in the comments and let us know you're here. Say who you are. I can't personally see who's coming in, so that gives me a good sense of who's contributing. But today we've got a really fun team on the call, and we're excited to kind of explore the future of AI and human collaboration. So you're looking at some jumpsuiters who have collaborated together to build a tech company called JompBoards. We're going to dive into that a little bit, and then we also have Council on the call who has been a client of ours for a while, and I would say at this point more of a good friend. But Council, do you want to introduce yourself? I think people who have been tuning in are used to our faces, but you're new ones. Do you want to give any sort of context to who you are?
Yeah, I would love to. One, thanks for having me join. I'm super excited. Name's Council Dawson. I have worked at P&G for almost 7 years. Just turned in the res on Friday, so off to a new adventure. But so cool to have worked with Nicole and her team on what we did. I was the former brand director over 9 Elements, which was a startup brand, and P&G, and just delivered unbelievable breakthrough growth. So I can't wait to see all that's to come with this.
Yeah. Is this your first time seeing what we've been up to in this
This
regard?
is the first time. Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm all in. So it's going to be fresh eyes from me and the whole perspective.
That's so fun. Feel free to ask any questions or just, share your thoughts. I think to be fully transparent, I love that you're here because I've always loved your brain. I think, do you identify as ADHD? Yeah.
Off the charts. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable. Yeah.
you've got that like ability to really like see out in the future and make a lot of connections. And so, yeah, just like feel free to contribute. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Cool. So I guess to start, I kind of want to just paint a picture of what I believe the current landscape is and some of the future that I'm anticipating. Not everyone, I think everyone's trying to forecast the impact of AI, and we all have a million unique perspectives and ideas on that. So definitely take this with a grain of salt. But I don't know if any of you guys had the chance to see the Google Gemini demo video last week. Yeah. Maybe everyone but Council. Yeah, and obviously, if you guys saw this in the comments, I want to know what you thought about it. But I turned on my TV and I was watching it on YouTube one morning last week, and I was like, it rocked my world so hard that I actually had to take the day off because my brain was just like, holy crap. It's wild. Definitely go watch it. It's free online. People are making content about it, obviously, but basically, it is Google's competitor to ChatGPT. And there's going to be a lot of players in this space, obviously, and a lot of startups like us who are taking that technology and doing something with it. But yeah, it's pretty mind blowing, and they're just getting started. AI is wild because by the time you see what it's doing, it's already like something else. So we're kind of like responding to our best ability in real time. But one of the big feelings that I had after watching that was just like this tension of imagining such an incredible future, and also like a pretty sobering reality that, again, this is my opinion, but I think like just about every single job in every single industry is probably going to experience a decent amount of change. And I was kind of inclined to think that project managers, I'm curious if what you guys think about this, but I think project managers are going to become a really, really important role in this space, because as companies need to figure out new ways of getting jobs done, new ways of assembling human teams with AI processes, you kind of still, I think, for a while need humans to manage that. So that's an interesting space to explore. And I also anticipate these project managers or these team leaders really having to make conscious decisions of, to get this task done or get this job done, am I going to use an AI or am I going to use a human? And I think in order to empower individuals to make decisions like that, companies obviously are going to need to really nail down their AI ethics, have AI governance, and obviously the larger the organization, especially if you're a publicly held company, there's going to be a really big need to be able to prove that you're following it in accordance to the ethics and the governance. You're going to need to prove that with data. So 60% of all the work that we've done went to humans, or 40% went to AI, or whatever that is for you guys. So I think that's just like an interesting um, thing that's going to be coming up that I'm excited to talk about. Also, the humans that are hired, employed, or freelance, or however the teams are being organized, the humans who are hired to do the work are going to need to obviously reskill themselves and optimize and create new processes for themselves as well. So we're seeing this happen a ton with how people are approaching video creation, graphic design, social media. I mean, you name it. Every single type of role is having to grapple with, like, okay, what's the new tool? When do I, how far can AI get this strategy or this creative, and where is it lacking the human nuance and human, I guess, taste? I think that's a thing that AI, quite frankly, can't do quite yet. So I think that's good news for us, is there is still very much need for humans. It's just kind of changing the way that we're going to be working together. So Fletcher, before I kind of put you on the spot to pull up our product and like showcase some of these features that we are going to be rolling out, I just kind of want to see, like, what do you guys think to all that stuff I just kind of shared? Like, what comes up for you when you think about AI and human collaboration, at least over the next year? Like, what kind of fears do you have? Excitement do you have? Like, what comes up for you?
I just want to chime in with one thing. I think it's interesting. Like at the moment, I feel like, at least in the way I work with it, or people I know who work with it, using AI to like help them get their job done is kind of done as like a secret, like kind of shameful thing. It's like it's like bringing in your calculator to a math test or something, where it's like you got to hide it from the teacher a little bit. And which is interesting because it's just probably the young us kind of just learning how to integrate it and how people are going to respond. Like, are they going to think less of me because I have this AI help me write an email better, or help me, respond to my friends better in a text or whatever? And then even with like work, it helped me do some research. Does that make me less of a professional? So there's this kind of battle right now. It's almost like when computers first came out, and at first they had actual people they called computers that could compute complicated things. It's like, well, now if you're using a computer, does that make you less valuable? And the truth is, it doesn't at all. Like you're still totally valuable. And you're just like you're probably one of the few people that can use it and like actually like make it do something amazing. But I'm really excited about that transition where it kind of comes out of our secret, I guess. And this isn't happening everywhere, but in general, for me, I'm using it sort of in the secret to help boost and get me to be faster and more productive. But I know that that'll go away, and it'll be something that's like so obviously like, oh yeah, I can just let AI kind of complete this task, and everyone knows that that's how it's done because I'm going to take and be a professional in this area. So anyway, that's just an interesting trend. I think that's going to be short lived, but something that's happening right now, at least in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you, Josiah? Are you using AI right now, and how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I have been trying to replace James on this call with AI. Um, James, as you know, like is a lot of times my greatest ally when it comes to like problem solving and like when we're having a conversation, it's like the solution is in there. I just need to like bat it around a few times, and I can sometimes replace James with journaling, and sometimes I can replace James with another James. But James, for for like the most of the last 5 years, has just been like the person that helps me solve problems. And I just went on a run the other day and used ChatGPT's like voice assistant, and it was literally just I was running and we were having a conversation, and I was trying to figure out my sales program, and we had like a full 20-minute conversation about um a sales program. It was crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I just might have replaced James. Um,
Will you at
so
least
I don't
will you
know.
at least just like either name it James, or I'll do like a voice thing where it sounds like me and that's my voice
Yeah,
talking. That would be great.
I
That's all I
neglected
would.
to be like,
Yeah.
hey, assistant, can I call you James?
Yeah.
Call me James. No, the actually the guy sounds the AI voice I selected sounds like Tim Ferriss, 4 Hour Workweek guy. So, and I've been listening to him talk for 15 years too. So it's like, it was very comforting. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That's that. So I'm still doing the work, but like, it really did like help me like pull the meat out of, you know, uh, out of the locked archives in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah, I've found it really interesting to just see how polarizing it is. Obviously, like there's people who have some really extreme reactions on both sides. So you've got these, I don't know what to call internet hustlers, like the people who show up in your like YouTube channel, like ads and stuff. Like they're trying to automate everything and they're trying to make as much money as possible. And it's like, oh my God, I cannot do online anymore if that I'm going to be bombarded with that kind of stuff. That's how I feel. And then I have people in my life who are like, just so afraid of it and like literally want to unplug from technology and go buy land and be on start a commune. And so, I'm personally like where I'm at, like I love the idea of figuring out how do you authentically, transparently, consciously integrate, right? Like to me that feels the most balanced reaction is like I think my optimism takes me to a place where, all of the obviously like the jobs that we don't want to do or need to do can be given to AI, great, and the humanity and the creativity can really begin to flourish again. That makes me really excited. I think the thing that weighs a lot on I guess keeps me up at night is how many people I think are going to lose their jobs, but on the positive side, maybe get a chance to reinvent themselves. So I don't want to bring any sort of like apocalyptic energy to this conversation because I don't believe that. But I if you have been following me at all for the past 5 years, you've heard me say probably a million times by 2027, over 50% of the workforce will be independent. And that was a pre-COVID stat. That was before the earth got hit with a pandemic. That was before we had the Great Resignation and then the recession and now AI. And I am just like, every day I'm looking for a new updated statistic on what that number is because like obviously instinctually it's going to be way higher. And so when I'm looking forward about just, every industry in the world trying to figure out how to adopt AI and how to do that ethically and how to do that profitably and all of the decisions they have to weigh, you can anticipate a lot of people being laid off or their jobs having to change. And then I'm like, where are they going to go? There's, trust me, like I love the independent network. I have powered my company by it. I exist in it. I want as many people as possible who want to work for themselves or to have side hustles to jump into it. But not everyone's entrepreneurial. Not everyone has the, maybe the emotional stability to like navigate that stuff. So there's a lot of emerging problems that I see with what's coming and how work gets done. But for anyone who's willing to kind of roll up their sleeves and learn something new and dive into unfamiliar, territory that's a little gray and undefined, I think the opportunities are limitless. So that's kind of where I spend most of my energy kind of imagining. Yeah. So anyway, Fletcher, do you want to kind of tee up what Jomp Words is and how we are attempting to solve some really big problems?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I'll just kind of start at the top because, Council, you said this is your first time seeing this. Is that right?
It is, which is why I don't often keep quiet, but I'm not gonna put my foot in my mouth before I see what you got.
Awesome. Well, let me just share real quickly kind of an overview so you can get it. And then I want to jump over to some of the work we're doing in staging right now to bring in AI into the flow. So yeah, job boards is a place where you can basically showcase all your knowledge. It takes anything you know and turns it into something that you can sell and either make passive income or actually like actively sell and do services on. So in this case, here's my job board where I have these different service offerings. People can browse through them. Yeah, I have different marketing services, digital experiences, enterprise consulting. And if we go into one of them, like we'll do this analytic dashboard, people can view exactly what my process is to do this type of work, right? And you can have like examples up at the top and basically showcase, hey, this is how I do an analytic dashboard. This is why I do these things. I even have like examples of like, hey, I do wireframes at this step. Here's some example wireframes I've done for different companies. So it lets me kind of have full transparency as far as what I'm setting out to do, how I'm going to do it, and then a way for people to either reach out to me and get a proposal, or like I mentioned before, you can also gate this so people can pay, give you their email or pay you money to unlock the contents of this and actually read through it themselves and maybe actually do the work themselves too, just using my process that I've sort of forged over the past 15 years. So that's it, like as far as on the front end, how people are going to see it. And then on the back end, it's basically a way for you to manage and create all of those different various stages. So you create drafts, you pull them into your services. When you're ready to actually build a proposal, you move it over to a proposal. That in that world, you can kind of put an app or a presentation at the top. You can go through with the client and talk about what stages are going to be required or skipped or optional. And then you can actually start the project, in which case at that point, this becomes sort of a 50,000 foot view throughout the life cycle of the project. So you go from, not started to in progress to completed. You add the links as you create those so that there is one URL that clients and stakeholders can all come back to actually see what you've done, where you're at now, where you're going, and where all their stuff is.
Yeah, let me interject real quick. So like Council, I know that you have probably worked on tons of SOWs for a lot of different types of projects. And I imagine, unless you've been doing the same kind of work forever, which we know is not the case at P&G, you're always kind of changing things every couple of years. You really rely on your agency partners to take the challenge and come back to you with a proposal, right? And here's exactly how we're going to get the work done. So that's our way to really make that process transparent and collaborative, and to feel like a client has the ability to pull levers to say, hey, you know what, we have a partner agency doing that, or we can do that in-house, or we don't need that right now.
Yeah.
Our budget can't afford that. It really kind of brings that collaboration up front. And then to Fletcher's point, once you align on that, you start the project, everything's in one place. It's not like, hey, I'm sorry to bug you. Where's that document? What email was that in? Whatever. It's just all right there, which is also nice. Or like if you're getting stopped by your boss and like, hey, that thing you're working on, show me the update. You can just refer to that link right there. So those are some common today non-AI problems that we're trying to solve just to make collaboration between clients and either a freelancer or an agency partner way more streamlined and valuable.
And then at the very end of it, what's awesome is you just push a button and it turns your entire process into a case study. So it grabs that logo and it says, okay, you've done now, whatever 5 of these software designs, here's logos to those case studies. And you can actually see and review, hey, okay, he did this software design process for this company. Here's all the assets they did. So it just helps build trust for new clients. It helps kind of gain excitement for teams that are a part of something. And it lets you kind of build a process so you can scale your business, scale your team, and also charge more for what you do because you are transparent. The people that don't buy the best, they buy the least risky. And this tool is all about transparency so that you know exactly what you're getting when you say yes to Fletcher building you whatever it is. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. I'm going to now talk about some of the some of the friction points that we're seeing right now and how we're intending to solve those. So for those who have not been, in business for 15 years, kind of refining their processes, it's a daunting task to stare at a blank sort of, draft that just it's like, okay, what's the name, what's the image, like let's start building an actual, steps and phases. That's like they don't even know where to begin. And it's even though if you had it, it takes a few seconds just to create those milestones and phases. However, like staring at that blank canvas is really daunting for some people. So what we realized is we were doing, and currently are still doing, we do hibachi design sessions where someone will basically just share what they do, and those kind of talk and stream of conscious go through, what they do, why they do that. And we're in the background actually building and categorizing their job board because like Nicole and I have both been in the business so long, we understand, and we understand certain keywords. We know what is a phase, what's a process. We can organize that process really quickly for them so that they can start from that, and then they can go in and actually just edit it and make changes to it, if that makes sense. Basically unblocking them from that 0 to 80 state, right? So that they can spend their energy going from 80% to 100%, really implementing their magic and maybe kind of more customizing their different processes. So with that said, what we're looking to release is being able to generate boards using AI. So here's an example. We'll do like a digital product UI UX. So I'm gonna hit generate, and it's gonna take a few seconds because it goes through and starts building this out. What this allows us to do is basically get people to just kind of open form, write out what they do. And this is shortened, but you can write, a full block, a sentence or whatever. And then it basically goes and then kind of researches that and then figures out what the standard sort of process is. And there's definitely, we're excited. We're tweaking sort of the prompt engine and stuff like that so that it's going to be even more detailed. But it gets someone out of that blank canvas stage into something where they're starting to see phases and milestones come to life. And now they can go in and say, hey, let's edit these phases and milestones, and let's further add our magic to the mix.
Yeah, what I like about this from an agency perspective is, we have our own processes, and they typically work for us. And if they don't work for us, then we have a process to be able to say, hey, next time let's not do this without user testing, right? That was a really big no-no, a big mistake. And so obviously, like, this is infinitely iterative. As you learn new things, you can say, hey, let's make sure this step always happens right here. I think this is going to become even more and more important with AI. So you're looking, you're looking at competitor analysis. But even like if you were to drill into that, right, it's like, how are we going to get that job done? Which we'll talk more about that in a second. I know when I was starting Jumpsuit, like I would have loved to be able to look at other agencies' processes and see what I was missing, are we missing an entire strategy phase that's like really important to set a project up for success? If I don't have any sort of external, mirroring, I just don't know. And I imagine from a client side counsel, when you go to even write an RFP or a brief or something, like how did you know what to ask for?
Oh my God, you don't. I think there's this whole world of like things are figured out for you, or you work at this big company, there must be all these resources, but like, no. And I think like, if you saw my face, I went from in to like, I'm like leaned in on this, but because one of the things you had right there was a podcast. And one of my big breakthrough ideas is how to generate a podcast. When I worked in my internal teams and I was like, I want to create a podcast, immediately it's no, because there is no one's ever done it. There's no path, there's no vision. So like, let's stick to what we know. Like, and I don't have the resources to quickly just be like, no, this is all we need to do. Like, are you kidding me? And then like, I think that like what's so enabling about this is the ability to see, because that is the hardest thing, whether you're designing a home or an apartment or building a business plan. Like the most overwhelming part is, how do I get from A to Z and then build the path with all the steps in it? I think this is breakthrough just even in like ideation creation and like thoughts. I don't want to jump the gun, but I have so many questions too that lead into it. But like,
Yeah.
to be able to like, even if you spent half a day brainstorming and just threw in some ideas and had things feed back to you and be like, oh, I thought creating an album of jingles for Christmas around cleaning countertops, Santa's countertops, I don't know, let's get wild, would be a great thing. And then if I plug it in and I see all the steps and all the copyrights and all the things, I'm like, oop, maybe I'll jump to the next idea, which saves me maybe 10 weeks of time if I got really hell-bent on an idea. You know what I'm saying? And like getting all the processes and inputs and touch throughs. I think that like there's a lot in this.
Yeah. Nice. And I think, we were playing around with this yesterday, and one of the things, I forget what you typed in yesterday, Fletcher, but it came up with a pretty good process. But what we noticed immediately was that, like AI is lacking some really important human nuance right now. I forget the stat. It's like 70% of all projects fail because there's not a clearly defined process in the beginning. So like, just to have a process that everyone is aware of and aligned to is helpful. But I would add, in our experience, the human value is the nuance of like, hey, I know, like we saw immediately that it was missing stakeholder interviews. I forget what you had typed in. Stakeholder interviews. And that's a human thing. If you don't kick off a project talking to the right people in the organization and making them feel heard and aligned and considered, then the whole project's going to go off the rails. Like, that from a big organization. So AI had missed that. It also missed a couple other human moments. And so, not to say that it won't learn that and adapt over time and consider those things. But that's where that's where we personally got excited, because we're like, okay, you can still add the human nuance to the process and have a clear differentiator as to like why you versus another agency, like why you versus someone else is because most people are doing this, but we're doing this, and here's why.
Oh, there's just so much that can be added in here too. Like I think even like creating a holding ground, like to your point, to like touch base, like we share things via Teams or email or hard copy, like it's all over the place. So like having this process and then being able to dive deep into it, and then if you integrate AI within that as well, like market research, how much can that be done with an AI tool? And then like
perfect
building it out, and like I mean it, like 16 weeks of work, I could probably knock out 80 for the 20 in a day if I lean into that AI journey, which is lean in. Like that emotional, like the more I play with AI, I went from like, I want to be on an island, I'm out, to like, okay, maybe I'll dabble, wow, to like fully in, and I'm like, where has this been my whole life? Like very cool stuff, y'all.
Yeah, and Council is such a good, great segue. We when we were playing with this, we realized, imagine you're going through this mobile app design process, and halfway down, you're going to have like some sort of strategic like paper that you need to do, like put together or whatever, some research on something. The items that you want to actually go through and humans are going to incorporate, they're going to add their links, right? They're going to add the different links to the different documents that they're producing. And then you get down to that deliverable that you could have AI do, and we're going to allow it. So you just push a button, and it's actually going to take the entire JSON blob, the entire process, as well as all the deliverables that have been put to that point. It'll ingest those, understand them, and then go and then create basically a V1 of that research document. So you can just steer it from there, but with a push of a button, you'll be able to get a bunch of these milestones, far, very close to being finished.
And like, how cool too if you could integrate like, okay, what are we creating? Hey, in this, user research, what's really worked, what hasn't worked? And if you're able to pull not just broad scale, but like what's worked on this platform too? Like where have we seen the most success? And you can get like, proprietary ownership of that, like in that sense, but like you get fed, hey, the top clients who've seen the most successful in ROI have been fed these jaunt boards, and
Mhm.
here's what we think is why. Think through. Like, there's
Yeah.
a lot in here. Ooh, good work, everyone.
No, it's awesome. We definitely intend to, and everything is being collected right now. We have a big data lake, but we intend to expose that once we have, a good market penetration where we'll be able to go and give you insights onto like jump boards that are weak, jump boards that, are doing better, suggestions for like phases that seem omitted that other people do. Or even like right now, when you go in, and if you add a link to one of these, let's do an example here. We're actually providing some general analytics on engagement on the links as well. So I'm in our team view, so I'm able to see like total clicks and unique. So we'll actually be able to see where clients are getting more traction, where they're interested in some of the deliverables you're doing, where maybe there's never any traction. You could skip, a user journey like hi-fi design because people aren't really looking at it. It maybe is informing you, but you can dial back the fidelity a little bit. So to push yourself faster into the next phase. It'll understand like timing of things, like your tempo throughout a project. So it knows when a phase tends to like lag and there's a lot of stale time there. So it'll tell you to like kind of enhance that phase so that you can have more consistent like milestones getting completed. So it'll begin to really help agencies build and create processes that keep their team engaged, keep their client engaged, does assets and deliverables that get everyone excited, and you'll be able to hone your process into some beautiful, well-tuned machine.
Yeah, and Fletcher, you're using agency as an example, but I'm seeing Sandra's on here. Hey, Sandra from Mass Mutual. Could companies use this with their internal teams?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
you can. Yeah, I mean, you can use your imagination. We've already talked to so many verticals we weren't even sure would use this, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is perfect for XYZ." But just having a play. I mean, if you think about it, this is just how we think when you're in any profession for a long time. You kind of have a brain that's mapped similar to this. It's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what the phase I'm going to go into. This is what I'm getting whoever excited about for the next step. This is where you're at now. And definitely can happen for internal teams. I mean, we imagine the whole idea of like, I've noticed that bad managers always say, "Oh, I just need to hire another unicorn. I just need to hire another person that can do everything." And the reason they say that is that they haven't yet fully like gone through and determined what their process is. Because when you do that, you can bring anyone in with any kind of skill set and understand where they fit in the process so that they can be fulfilled and do amazing work in the specific phase or milestone that they've been assigned to. And so in a way, I'm set out to really kind of remove bad middle management where they just like, I need this on my desk yesterday and I need you to be able to do everything. And it's just a frustration. It's a weird, awkward room where actually it champions the managers who are the people who are actually willing to really investigate what is their processes, what makes something successful. How do I make it so this project can't fail no matter who the personnel that's involved in, right? Because there is obvious train tracks to follow and they know exactly what to do and what's expected of them.
Yeah, and you want to talk about other reasons that projects go off the rails. It's because someone gets plugged in midway through the project. They weren't briefed originally, and you ask them to contribute or do, execute or chime in or something. And it's like, halt, and because they don't have the context of everything that, was decided before. Not to say that this will solve that problem 100% of the times, but it's at least there, right? You can see the historical record and all of the work that had been done before you bring someone in. And also, speaking as someone who's done a lot of creative work, who maybe comes in for a moment and then leaves, like it's a lot of effort to collaborate as a team and bring a project to completion. A lot of projects never freaking finish in the first place, but when they do, unless you have that thoughtful project manager, producer, or a leader, like bringing the end result back to everyone, you just kind of feel like a cog in the wheel. Oh, like, yeah, I contributed that one thing. I don't even know whatever happened to that project. I never got to see the end. So again, just keeping everything in one place really helps unify a team on a lot of different levels.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to take a second just to talk about where, I mean, this is in our staging environment. We released this yesterday, and we couldn't wait to just at least start showing people and start a conversation around it. So we're putting the finishing touches on it. We're going to enhance even the detail that comes back from any prompt. But it's very, very close. We're excited about that, and just to let you guys know as far as who it'll be available to. It's going to be open to anyone with a paid account for JompBoard. So either that individual or organization level. And yeah, we're very excited to see what kind of JompBoards come out of this. But as we look to the future, and we're really excited about focusing in and really dialing in this integration with AI, because we feel like this has a real good opportunity right now. But we're looking at a few different options. One is, you can see right now we're obviously teeing off and creating a board. But what we're going to also work on bringing in is even on the utility, so being able to have access to an AI. So now you can start to brainstorm here on page. So you could say, hey, add another phase, right, that incorporates strategy into this JompBoard, and it'll just add that phase with the milestones there. You can tell it to kind of combine or merge different phases, or you could even have it like, hey, rewrite all the descriptions in a different tone of voice or whatever, or hey, look at my website and write it in that tone of voice. And actually, because we have access, you're telling us, what your website is and stuff like that. A lot of this is already painted with the tone and voice of your website that you've entered, which is really cool. So yeah, we're looking at in JompBoard app utility, so you can actually kind of build and create with JompBoard, which is exciting. We're also going to investigate, and we're really excited about this one, but letting you back here on this homepage, and this will be for organizations only. But for those who have already done a legacy of work and have built a bunch of SOWs and done a bunch of work, you'll actually be able to just upload, a batch of 30 SOWs, and it'll actually go through and look through what kind of work was done. And it'll be able to categorize and create multiple JompBoards for you and say, okay, it looks like you're doing, video production. Here are the different video productions I'm seeing. Here's the processes and deliverables you've done in those SOWs. And even create case studies based on those SOWs. So it'll basically allow organizations to drag and drop legacy work in, and it'll practically auto create your entire JompBoard experience, so you can continue to sell without like really having to invest a ton of time or effort into starting over in JompBoards. So that's another thing that we could talk about, interest around that, but that's something we're excited about. Yeah, and then also one thing that we're really interested in is that relationship with an agency or any company actually integrating AI into their process and not doing it secretively, actually doing it so it's like expected. That whether or not, but we're actually going to do attribution. So you can see here we have these different. Each of the milestones have attribution to as far as who created them. This is going to unlock a few things. One, you can actually merge your process with other agencies or freelancers, and they can have autonomy over the phases and milestones that they are in charge of, so they can make updates to those. So you'd see maybe this mobile app design process is a merger between like an engineering team and a strategy team and Jumpsuit. You'd actually see those logos as far as who's responsible for each of those, and that way you can view those. But in the same sense, we'll be able to attribute the milestones that have been generated purely on AI and hasn't been altered by you. So it lets us kind of keep track of like, okay, where are humans actually coming in and altering a process? Where are we just letting AI kind of fill in the primary gaps? And that's going to open up, I think, a really cool conversation just about ethical AI usage, right? And making sure we're always attributing properly.
I'm so excited for that. I think that's going to be really, really important, especially for the larger organizations, as I mentioned before, who like have to align on ethics and governance and have the ability to like prove that with data. Yeah. Any thoughts on like the analytics dashboard and like what might be possible there, to like help companies prove things with how they're using AI? Have you thought about that much?
Oh, for sure. I mean, just insights. It's interesting because analytics are always meant to drive insights. And a lot of people, when they go to build an analytic dashboard, they call it an insight dashboard because they know that's what they want the end result to be. But there's sort of always been a gap until AI hit the market of like, how do you ingest? How do you look at all this data and actually begin to build like insights that actually drive decision making, right? And it just takes a human to see it. But sometimes, I mean, when you think of a smaller dashboard, if you're just looking at like Google Analytics for like website traffic, that's easier because there's already been a lot of stories told, so you can find those insights hidden in the data. But when it comes to like larger data, and I really think John Boards is going to be such a good example of that. There's going to be so much activity and people creating and working through across like a full industry, and AI will be the only thing that could fathom all of that data and actually drive really good detailed insights from that data. So you'll be able to service up to the different CEOs of agencies or companies and tell them, hey, this is where not only just standard market behavior is going, but this is behavior within your own app and your own team, and you need to really like hone in your process here, or tighten this up here, or you need to add something here. So I am very excited about the relationship with it and our analytics.
I'm really excited for the new levels of flexibility it provides, and how you get work done, right? Because I think on a bigger project, just kind of assuming there's an organization that hires Jumpsuit as an agency, for example, we may be, like I said, collaborating already. Maybe we're doing 80% of the work and their team's doing 20% of the work, and they're ultimately responsible for the budget and getting it done. But now, instead of just providing services, we can actually package up our best in class processes, and we can even be spearheading AI. So we can say, hey, when you want to go make a commercial now, here's our process on how we get it done. But here's another version where you really lean heavily on AI, and we can now sell that as a product. We can also allow a company to say, hey, you know what? Thanks for that process. We're going to try to do that internally and follow this process, follow all the examples that you've given us. But at any point in time, they get stuck. Maybe they don't have the talent to pull off a certain milestone, or they don't have the time anymore. Someone, they had the talent, but they got pulled into another project or whatever. I get really excited about the ability for them to like hit a milestone and be like, help. Like, I either want to hire AI to do this right now, or I want to hire a human. And if they got the process from Jumpsuit, it's very likely that they'll just hire Jumpsuit, and then we get to come in and collaborate anyway on a process we're already very familiar with, without having to do a big, $200,000 scope of work or whatever. But we're still able to provide that level of flexibility and support that I think just a lot of companies don't get to experience with the independent network right now.
Yeah, that's really cool.
This whole
and
thing
it's exciting, and it's organized. It's like, it's obvious. You're watching the work get layered in, and it's clear of who's responsible for what and when you want to bring in AI. I love that, because right now a lot of times people talk about it, but it's just sort of a mushy idea, and it's like, yeah, I guess we're gonna have to figure out how to do that when we're in the weeds of a project. This lets you sort of like maintain a high level view and understand exactly where you can bring and drive value from team members or AI.
Yeah. What were we gonna say, James?
No, I'm loving what this is. It's very, very cool.
A lot of these things can provide infrastructure for prompts as well. I think my personal biggest time saver with AI has been data manipulation. Just like I have a list of 10,000, things that need to be cleaned or deduplicated or reformatted. And there's Reddit groups that can tell you how to like Python code, how to reformat the data. And that takes a lot of manual effort. But I also was able to just upload it into, ChatGPT, and it reformatted for me. So I'm looking at that data dashboard, job board build, and I'm seeing like, oh yeah, like a few of these steps can also basically just be copied and pasted back into AI, and then done there specifically with data for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and any questions from the audience, or or general thoughts, feel free to chime in the chat. Sandra, I see you're tagging a lot of people, so that's fun. since you're feeling some things, so we can circle back on that. But yeah, this is a really exciting tool. Not to say it is going to be the platform for how the future of work gets done. I think there's going to be a lot of platforms that we continue to rely on and new ones that, will emerge. But, the future of work truly is democratized. We are entering an era where it just has to be, it will be. So the ability to democratize all of this is really exciting to me. And the future is also collaborative and not competitive. So I think there's been a lot of gatekeeping within organizations and within teams. We talked to someone at a really big company who said that even internally, when they try to find a vendor, internal teams won't share that information with them because that means they might not have access to them. And so like what was that, counsel?
On that, like it's unbelievable, the gatekeeping. But like what I just saw, my computer crashed and I ran to get back on because I just needed to like say like the micro of it and the macro of it, Nicole, what y'all are building is unbelievable. Like if you were able, like as a brand owner, I have 10 different projects and all of them lead into like my one KPI. I can then drill down into each project and understand which is driving to that KPI, what's getting pulled across, and then potentially see themes in it to then brainstorm against the next set of rounds. And then I could put in all of my people's work that are going into it. It's just, and then if you layer that up to the total company strategy, is my KPI hitting the total that then could be clicked down all the way through across. I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought, but the gatekeeping's real, but it also, this enables just such a flow in everything that is just, I have never seen before.
Yeah, thanks for that feedback. I think we've obviously like we've had to do a lot of our own work, our own competitive analysis, and try to figure out like what is this thing, what is this thing, and who are we competing with? And when you look at it, it's very multidimensional in my brain because you can look at it from one angle and you be like, oh, it's another type of project management tool. Well, kind of, but project management tools are designed really for two things. People management and task management, which are inherently getting you in the weeds. So it's like, counsel, do this thing by Thursday, right? There's really been no tool that's been built for clients first, full visibility across teams and clients. That just doesn't exist. And you can hack tools to attempt to do that, but like we don't want to send a client a Jira link or Asana. Like they don't want to look at that. They want to look at, what did we set out to do? Where are we at? Where can I find all my shit? Like that's really all they care about. So this tool is designed to do that. But the networking, like that's why I was excited to have you look at it, because you can see how it can infinitely link to anything. And Fletcher didn't even really have a chance to talk about how you can create a master document. Other people or other people within your company can copy that. So maybe there's another brand council that did a similar project and this was their process and it was very successful for them. How do you democratize that information internally? What if you could just like copy that, use that within your brand? And if there's anything that needs to change because you're, in a different business unit or something, you can easily make those tweaks. The possibilities are kind of endless. It's really, an exciting thing to like see what teams really can do with this. Yeah. Awesome. Anything else? Any other thoughts or questions from you, counsel? Is that the main thing you had to say?
I mean, I got so many thoughts and questions, but I don't want to take up too much time. But I do have like, where do you clear on how the AI generates the kind of flow and process and that thing? How much weeds are we going into AI generating some of like the user research aspect, like already just hitting that part?
Yeah, as far as like what's on our roadmap, where that kind of like, yeah. So we are looking There's a few things we're cleaning up. We're going to enhance just like the overall output of what we have today. And then we're excited to do, we're going to move into like on-page utility and also do a spike on that generating from SAOs. We feel like those are some where we're trying to unblock people from the beginning of the user journey and then slowly work our way down to the end of it. And so, yeah, the attribution and then that fulfilling the deliverables is definitely like once a project's been created and a proposal has been made and then the work's done, so you can see that's kind of further down on the user journey. That's where we'll really start investigating when people feel fully unblocked to create their job boards and actually build proposals from those. Then our user group will basically move into this stage where they're all doing work, and then that's when we start really investigating like features that enhance that stage of it. So we're just trying to follow right now where people are at in the product and then enhance it and hit them right where they are, so they're seeing value to every dollar we put into the product.
But yes, that's absolutely top of mind to get to a point where you say this thing or these 10 things, I plan on AI doing it, and you start the project and it's there. It's there for then real humans to respond to. That is what we're working towards.
There was a really good quote I read the other day by a P&G leader from like 1930 or something. And it said, we don't have the luxury to relearn what we've already learned. And, but there's so much relearning that we've already learned that happens in an organization. And I think keeping that in the forefront of the mind as we build this, I'm in, like, this is, but like humanity as it builds is like, I launched a natural brand. It was the 7th natural brand Fabric Care had launched in 15 years. This is the first successful one, but we failed 6 different times across 6 different ways. And I think this like collective consciousness that AI enables, while also bringing in what's worked, what didn't work, what was the market dynamic? Was it a market dynamic? Was it consumer placement? Was it the insight? What the process? Like all of these things have the ability to accelerate business. I mean, AI and the acceleration of business is like, of course, but like to do so in a way that enables, I'm not as worried about jobs being replaced as in like the freedom to think breakthrough versus like being in the gludge of it all. And oh my gosh, this is so cool, y'all. It's so cool.
Yeah, that makes me think like you're talking about there's like really important historical knowledge and wisdom that needs to be shared, to set up another project internally for success. And looking forward with AI going to constantly poke everything, all the different ways we're currently doing, it's like, this isn't just like a nice to have. This is going to be a necessity in a world that's moving, at a very rapid rate. You want to stay competitive in any industry. You're going to have to think about when and where you use AI versus when and where you use a human. And how those things work together. And, there's a lot of big organizations that like just step one is getting the internal teams to, not gatekeep and share, right? That's its own battle. And I think there's going to be other companies that with some processes, they could come on this platform and actually choose to sell their tried and true processes. Yeah. We know how to build brands. We know how to launch tech products. We know, right? And really like build this out and charge whatever they want for it and be the SME in space and
like license out Nike's creative.
Exactly.
Like, like that they have a process just as much as P&G process of like irresistible superiority. Like, what a cool thing that you could tap into to leverage against.
One of the first sketches I ever drew of jump boards was a page that showed it had a picture of a mountain, and it was like I think in this case it was like app design, but for maybe a better example it'd be like making a movie or something, and the mountain is like there. It's like, okay, you're at the beginning and you're going to climb this mountain and you're going to like make a movie. And so you intend to get to the top, but then at the bottom there's these different cards and it said Pixar was the logo, how Pixar gets there. When you hovered over it, it showed their route to the top, and you could actually click in and buy Pixar's process, or LucasArts or whatever. Like it showed like these different cards of these huge players in the space, and you could see, oh, they all make it to the top, right? They all make movies, but everyone has a unique path that they go to get there that makes them them. And so you could click into those, and now you see their job board, right? And you're like, okay, and it'd be grayed out or whatever, but it's like, okay, this is, if you want to start a production house, you could buy Pixar's process. That's not promising you're going to do it just like them, because it's also about the people, but you can stand on their shoulders, and you actually can like take that work and then like build from it. But now think about that in a smaller way. Like you're going to build a website or whatever, and you can actually see how these massive companies, what their process is, and you can either employ it or buy their process and then start an agency based on that. And so I was even thinking, for me, if I'm trying to sell, a new service that I want to offer, I could be like, well, I use the same process as, Walmart does or whatever, because I know this process is one I bought from them, and then I'm going to, use it and build on their shoulders. Very exciting.
Yeah, right. Because it's not that people aren't already sharing some of that stuff. Like there's Masterclass and there's some other platforms, but that's kind of static in nature. You put it out there, and then process always changes. So to have a living, breathing software where you can always be like, whoop, here's what it is now. And once someone has paid for it or signed up for an email, any change that's ever made in perpetuity, they'll be notified. They'll be up to date on the process. Pretty mind blowing. And I guess the last thing, Fletcher, that you didn't have a chance to show, but I think it's really important, and I kind of want to tease this, anticipating that a lot of people are going to be starting their own side hustles and businesses. Can you talk really quickly about JauntBoard's ability for you to go in and basically be like, here's the 5 things that I do, help me launch a company in a day?
Yeah. So obviously you kind of saw my G85 design or whatever, but something we're excited about doing is working with people to help them create that, like unblock them fully, right? Is that what you're talking about, Nicole? Like our service to actually come in and help supercharge you.
Yeah, our service, and also maybe AI's ability to like stand up the framework really quickly and not need a website.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you're dabbling and you have an hour, right, you can get a JauntBoards. You can just have AI create those 5 services that you think you want to move into. Let it do that initial scaffolding. And it's what's really interesting is it's so fun to kind of move it and mold it from that starting point. It's actually very fast and efficient. But when you see your own process visualize in front of you, it gives you a confidence to go and sell that service, which is really exciting.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Anyway, there's infinite things we could say. I want to acknowledge we're at time, but thanks so much for everyone tuning in. If you have any questions or you're interested in this tool for either yourself personally or for the business, please don't hesitate to reach out, DM me, DM Fletcher. We're here for all of that. But yeah, thanks so much for your time.
Yep.
We will continue to build in public. We are committed to that strategy. So as the product updates, this isn't even live yet. It's about to be, right? So we will be here showing you guys all the things and building this with you to make sure that it's working for you guys. So awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.